Hello and welcome to another Pondagon video. Now, this year has been my first full calendar year in which I've actively sought out and experimented with newly released music. And all in all, I think it's been a pretty good year for that. Of course, there have been letdowns and disappointments, but of the 58 projects I've tried this year, there has been plenty of quality and I found a lot of enjoyment. In terms of numerical ratings, I've had 14 8 out of 10s this year and 1 9. So it's been quite hard to condense my list down to a top 10, but I've done my best and will go through honourable mentions for those that have just missed the list. The plan is to go through the honourable mentions quite quickly, then the first 5 in slightly more depth, and then properly talk about my top 5. So without further ado, and in no particular order, the honourable mentions. Alfredo 2 by The Alchemist and Freddie Gibbs. The sequel to the duo's highly acclaimed 2020 collaboration Alfredo, in my opinion, exceeds the original in quality of the beats and the bars. While it might not be groundbreaking, it does what it does very well, and it manages to provide a consistent track list with excellent polished production. Highlights for me include Anderson .Paak's heavenly feature on Ensalada, and Jid's display of complete mastery of flows and alliteration on Gold Feet. And in my opinion, he glides over this particular beat significantly better than Gibbs. Overall, a great showing from the duo and an album I definitely plan to revisit more in the future. Lotus by Little Simz. Little Simz is one of the most consistently amazing and talented lyricists and album crafters in the world of hip-hop, and in my opinion, music as a whole. And while this album didn't click with me on quite the same level as Sometimes I Might Be Introvert or Grey Area, it was undoubtedly a continuation of a generational album run and does not disappoint in the slightest. Some of the bass lines are absolutely filthy and there are some amazing concepts explored throughout. I was lucky enough to see her live this year and it goes even harder live. Highlights include the track Free and just the bass throughout the entire album. Neighborhood Gods Unlimited by Open Mike Eagle. This year is the first time I've paid attention to or listened to Open Mike Eagle at all, and when I finally did explore his music, I was amazed. His humorous and absurd song structures and ideas set him far apart from everyone else in the scene, and he has yet again innovated and developed on his style. The album follows a loose concept but has a plethora of great laid-back beats and amazing rapping performances, and while there were a few misses for me here and there, it's overall a great project. Highlights include the opener and Almost Broke My Nucleus Accumbens. Baby by Dijon. Dijon is not an artist I've listened to before, and admittedly I haven't explored his catalogue much other than this album, but the free-flowing and slightly off-kilter production allows him to create some very emotive and oddly groovy tracks. I definitely need to revisit this one, but I can also say it's a great project with very high highs. Highlights include the title track and Higher. Number 10. Hyperyouth by Joey Valence and Bray. Moving on to the numbered rankings, this album is absolutely jam-packed with high-energy bangers, but shows a little more versatility than the duo's last release, 2024's No Hands. While Hyperyouth didn't quite see the acclaim its predecessor did, in my opinion, it developed on a lot of styles and showed some artistic progression. It does feel like they might be running out of room with their current sound, but hopefully this project shows their potential to evolve and maintain their artistic streak. The album features two distinct moods, the aforementioned bangers and slightly more introspective tracks dealing with ideas of growing up and identity, forming a loose concept around the project. Despite some nice reflection and some noteworthy one-liners, I think the production steals the show here and is definitely what keeps me coming back and looking past the sometimes corny lyrics. Highlights for me include Bust Down and See You Dance. Number 9. Forever Howlong by Black Country New Road. Taken at face value, this album is a significant step down from what I consider to be the best project of the decade, 2022's Ants from Up There. But realistically, this is a brilliant musical showing from Black Country New Road. Their instrumentals feel more sophisticated in parts, and they continue to develop on their distinctive and undeniably influential sound. There is a clear difference from their previous record, that being the absence of lead singer Isaac Wood, which I have to say is clearly felt, but the band have sufficiently evolved to provide plenty of high-quality tracks and a really great project. I'll definitely be returning to this plenty of times due to the consistently brilliant synergy of the band's members and expertly crafted song structures. Highlights include Socks and For the Cold Country. Number 8. The Mocking Stars by Louse the Cat. The Mocking Stars stands completely by itself in the albums I've listened to this year and ever. I've never encountered such a story or concept or anything like it, the closest being Laus's 2018 release The Girl, the Cat and the Tree. But even that pales in comparison to the scale of this project. While I don't feel this album had the punchy highlights of his EP, the storytelling and the metaphors and otherworldly production is enough to warrant its own video, if not a whole series. Definitely something worth checking out and then reading up on. If the runtime seems a bit daunting, his aforementioned EP is a great introduction to his work to see if you'd be interested, with a similarly complex and absurd story. Highlights include the 10-minute epic, The Mocking Stars, and the instrumental and chorus on Peonies for Breakfast. If I'm being completely honest, this album has the potential to be top 5 once I listen to it more, so definitely check it out. Number 7. Black Hole Superette by Aesop Rock. Aesop Rock is, as any fan will tell you, completely in a league of his own in terms of vocabulary and lexicon, and he continues to show that on his 10th solo studio album, Black Hole Superette. The first of his 2 releases this year, the project sees him aggressively tackle plenty of absurd and mundane topics in his usual manner. The production is, in my opinion, a step up from his earlier works, and his lyrical abilities remain as potent as ever. In a year where many people have been discussing the quality of hip-hop projects by veteran rappers, it's important not to forget Aesop's 2 great projects. Considering its long run time, I would have expected to be more bored by the end of the project, but somehow it feels almost backloaded, with a lot of my favourite cuts coming towards the end. The topic matter has some overlap with Open Mike Eagle, although both artists remain very distinct in style, and Aesop manages to develop his ideas brilliantly, with references you'll feel dumb for not getting, or like a genius for understanding. I also did hit up the dictionary a couple times during the album. Highlights include the opener and Snail Zero, as well as the fact that Aesop kindly released the instrumental version, allowing me to have a bit of fun with the beats. Number 6. Cabin in the Sky by De La Soul. De La Soul have long been a group I've liked more in theory than in practice. I love the idea of them and their style of rap, but I've never quite found myself enamoured with their actual albums despite their classic status. It sometimes felt like I wasn't getting enough music for my music, and the highlights weren't enough to justify the extensive spoken word cuts. This is not the case for Cabin in the Sky. Giancarlo Esposito's interludes and intro only add to the emotive nature of the semi-posthumous album, and the project is all round a lovely remembrance of the late Dave, with really strong showings from the remaining 2 members and a host of legends joining this transcendental party. It does go on for quite a while with a 70-minute runtime, but there wasn't really a point I wanted it to end. The production was also handled superbly, and the overall project ended up being cohesive, touching and fun. Highlights include Day in the Sun and Black Thought's verse on NF. Number 5. Pain to Power by Maruha. Although the album came out in September, I only listened to it this week, but I feel like I've already formed some pretty strong opinions on the album. Getting the negative out of the way, the lyrics can be quite blunt and sometimes struggle to leave the impact they aim for. I haven't really felt the intended effect of a lot of the rap passages, but the same cannot be said for the music. If the lyricism was sorted out and shifted around a bit, this very well could be my album of the year. The drums are noticeably beautiful, and the saxophone is crying far more emotionally than the lyrics ever could. Every song presents an amazing instrumental experience, which in my opinion more than warrants its place here. The lyrics aren't terrible either. There are moments that they shine, and the admittedly simple political message is, at its core, kind, respectable, and radical. But it is so definitely the instrumental moments that the band shines the hardest, and an indescribably beautiful sound. The transitions between metal-infused guitar passages and jazzy saxophone will never not be amazing, and when these aspects cross is when the album is at its best. I will definitely be returning to this album many, many times, and may learn to love the lyrics more with time. Highlights include Born to Die and Reconcile. Number 4. I Love My Computer by Nina Geraci. This is not an album I would have expected to rate so highly, but here we are. The first 5 tracks make up possibly the best 5-song run of the year, and contain amazing, effect-heavy, bassy and danceable tunes. But the beat drops on the project as a whole are absolutely insane, sheer dopamine. The lyrics, while simple, are really authentic and relatable, apart from track 3, and do exactly what they should on a house album like this. The tracklist is split into two distinct parts, with the first half being entirely dance tunes with amazing bass lines and a nearly flawless run. I think the second half drops off ever so slightly as it doesn't quite have the energy of the first, but maybe that's necessary to avoid a 40-minute onslaught of information and low-end frequencies. It certainly doesn't ruin it at all and adds a nice contrast. It's also worth noting the album craft of the project is superb, with amazing transitions and flows from one song to the next and a very purposeful tracklist. Highlights include iPod Touch and the third song, which I will not be naming. Number 3. Magic Alive by McKinley-Dixon. This has been one of my most revisited projects of the year, partially due to its concise runtime, but mainly due to the wonderful combination of instrumentals and lyrics. McKinley-Dixon delivers on every single track in this album, and his features generally perform very well too. Already an excellent rap album, but it's the jazz instrumentation that really sets it apart. Beautiful, multifaceted beats and ever-evolving tunes prop up the lyrics brilliantly, and the drums are some of the best I've ever heard on any rap album ever. The concept of the album is a really interesting story, but it's not necessary to enjoy the experience at all, simply a bonus asset. There is one weakness that stops it from being higher, that being the third track, Crooked Stick, which I find quite repetitive and uninteresting, and would definitely fall under the skip category. Thankfully, it's not too long and it's surrounded by individually great tracks. I don't connect with this album quite as much as Dixon's first release, but this is undoubtedly one of my favourite releases of the year, and an album I'll continue to return to in 2026. Highlights include the chorus of All the Loved Ones and We're Outside, Rejoice. Number 2. Let God Sort 'Em Out by Clips. This was my and many other people's most anticipated release of the year, and it did not disappoint at all. Malice and Puff deliver hands down the most consistently brilliant bars of their career on the 13-track release over generally excellent Pharrell Williams beats. Pusha T was the rapper I was more familiar with going into this album, only knowing Malice from their classic release Hell Hath No Fury, but I was surprised to see that on almost every track, right from the get-go, Malice was out-rapping not only his brother, but everyone else this year. The tracklist starts off insanely strong, with a heartbreaking tribute to their parents, fueled by a simple beat and John Legend chorus. The lack of aggression may have scared some, but on the second track they are right back to their ruthless selves. Chains and Whip sees them flexing their evil muscles over one of the best beats of the year, with some absolutely diabolical bars and an incredible Kendrick Lamar feature. The rest of the tracklist is generally great, with one or two weaker tracks here and there, but not enough to affect its brilliant public reception. The only real weak points for me were Pharrell's offensively auto-tuned and cringe bars on some of the tracks, which really ruins my immersion and is honestly somewhat painful, but the highlights were plentiful. I'll have to narrow it down to every single Malice verse, Chains and Whips, particularly Kendrick's feature, and Birds Don't Sing. Number 1. Egotrip by John Mitchell and Anthony James. One of the underground releases of the year that gained considerable and deserved traction in online music circles, Egotrip is my pick for album of the year. It's the first album I've ever written a full review for, which I will borrow from here. Some point to this album's clear influence as a reason to dismiss it as original or derivative, but I find this take to be somewhat uninspired in and of itself. Of course, there are plenty of influences to be seen in this project, but the duo do such a good job of every single aspect in the album that it can't be reduced to an imitation. My main praises of the album, greatly condensed down, are as follows. Production. The general production and aesthetics of the project are wonderfully assembled and make it enjoyable on so many levels of engagement. The mix is quite crowded, which allows for a very full sound, and the drums are absolutely beautiful. Anthony James does an amazing job with all his flips, using some well-known samples in original and brilliant ways. Rapping. John Mitchell has some of the most wonderful one-liners and overall great flows and songcraft. He flows on every beat with brilliant rhyme schemes and effective flows which show so much promise and skill. The topic. Definitely erring on the side of a concept album, Mitchell's frequent reckoning with his own ego creates a wonderfully contradictory journey, and some lines are almost oxymoronic, but always enjoyable. Definitely a topic you could dive deeper into. Passion and hunger. This is, for me, what really makes this project great. We're seeing the essence of hip-hop in action. Hunger, energy, and passion. There's so much given in every line and every beat that I can't help but love it. I can't wait to see what these two have in store. If I had to mention one flaw, it might be that the features weren't always up to the level of Michel's rapping, but if anything, that's simply testament to his ability. My highlight is definitely World's End, which I would also award my track of the year for every single aspect of it being perfect. Overall, there hasn't been an album that has me as constantly excited, engaged, and amazed as this one, and its passion reflects the essence of what great hip-hop is. Please check this album out and let me know your album of the year. Thank you very much. I have been Pondagon. Goodbye.